We introduced you to Alexander Winton in a previous Inside Stahls. In case you don't recall, here's a little refresher. Alexander Winton and his Winton Motor Carriage Company is largely credited with creating the automobile business in the United States. He built his first motorized vehicle in 1896 and in 1897 was credited with selling the first automobile in the United States. Oh, but there's so much more to the story, so much more to Winton and his car, which started it all, and I mean all of it. A world of wonder, where fantastical music machines provide the soundtrack for a tantalizing stroll through history. Vintage automobiles and memorabilia stimulate the senses around every chromed curve and corner. This is Inside Stahls. Alexander Winton was born in Scotland and became a steam engine engineer and metalworker. He eventually lived and worked in New York City, but in 1884 moved to Cleveland, Ohio, where in 1891 he formed the Winton Bicycle Factory. He made a fortune building and selling bicycles, but became fascinated with gasoline-powered engines and eventually created a gas engine bike. Given his knowledge with engines and metalworking capabilities, Winton eventually turned his attention to building a horseless carriage. He debuted his first motor wagon to the press in 1896 and in 1897 launched the Winton Motor Carriage Company. Karl Benz from Germany is widely credited with creating the first automobile, this three-wheeled motor wagon completed in 1885. So there was competition from around the world to harness this burgeoning technology. Winton, however, set out to thwart his four-legged competition. One of his early ads encouraged would-be buyers to dispense with a horse. He suggested buying his car would save the expensive care and anxiety of keeping it. What about the anxiety of the poor horse? And they had the audacity to measure engine output in horsepower. To that the horse say, "Nay." In addition to upsetting the equine community, Winton developed less offensive marketing campaigns to promote his creation. In July of 1897, despite there being no roads connecting the two cities, Winton drove his car from Cleveland to New York in the span of 9 days. The two-cylinder motor was fueled by cleaning fluid, and while the grueling trip gathered attention back in Cleveland, there was little publicity when he arrived in New York. In May of 1899, Winton made the trip again. This time it was sponsored by the Cleveland Plain Dealer, and Winton was accompanied by a reporter named Chaz Shanks. The trip went much faster. They arrived in New York in less than 3 days. And thanks to Shanks' daily reports to over 30 newspapers during the trip, it was much more publicized and greatly received in New York. Shanks' writing and the subsequent publicity is also credited with entering the French word automobile into the American vernacular for the first time. This was the first horseless carriage to be referred to as an automobile. Winton was eventually credited with 100 different automobile patents, but he was a man of many firsts. In 1898, Winton Motor Carriage Company became the first American company to sell an automobile to the general public. Selling for $1,000 each, Winton sold 21 cars in 1898 alone. This led to another Winton first. He's widely credited with creating the first semi-truck. Instead of driving cars to customers, Winton realized it would be more cost-effective and less damaging to the vehicle to ship his cars to buyers across the country. So he attached an old tractor trailer to the back of one of his cars, which allowed him to haul a car at a time. By 1899, he was manufacturing and selling haulers to other automakers, making him responsible for the first semi-trailer truck being produced and sold as a commercial product. So the next time you do one of these to a trucker on the freeway, remember our guy, Alexander Winton. As the largest automobile manufacturer in the U.S. and with the transportation to move it, you might guess what came next. The first automobile dealership, which Winton opened in Reading, Pennsylvania, in 1899. It's quite possible that's where this 1901 Winton Runabout was purchased. This baby pumped out a whopping 10 horsepower. The single-cylinder vertical engine had a carbureted regulator used to control speed, a starter, electric ignition, and BF Goodrich tires that have held up for over 125 years. Kind of. It was also neatly appointed with leather seats and is one of the first cars to use a steering wheel, but it wasn't used often. This car has only 300 original miles on it. Before arriving at Stahls, the car was owned by a man named Earl Snodgrass, who found the chassis and the remains of the original body. His purchase also included an incomplete replica body. Snodgrass ended up finishing the bodywork and with the original fenders, and after some mechanical work, put it back together, preserving this early piece of automotive Americana. By 1901, Winton was an accomplished automobile manufacturer, but he developed a need for speed. He believed racing helped attract customers and investors and also provided a test ground for the latest technologies. It was also around this time that he lost a race in Grosse Pointe Shores, Michigan to a man named Henry Ford. That wasn't the first time he and Ford had crossed paths. More on that in a moment. That loss inspired Winton to build the first of his 3 Bullitt race cars. And on March 26, 1903, Winton's Bullitt beat H.T. Thomas in his Ransom Olds Pirate, going almost 69 miles per hour. That race at Florida's Winter Speed Carnival ended up naming Ormond Beach, a nearby Daytona, the birthplace of speed. Winton and his Bullitts, eventually piloted by America's first celebrity race car driver, Barney Oldfield, enjoyed a decorated racing history. Winton could seemingly do no wrong, but he did make a few missteps along the way. One of his early customers was a man named James. James complained to the company that he didn't like his car. Winton got wind of this and personally told James, "If you don't like it, go ahead and do it better." James Ward Packard went on to form the Packard Automobile Company. Oh, and remember that thing with Henry Ford? There was more to that rivalry than most people knew at the time. Years earlier, a young engineer from Detroit was recommended to Winton. Winton came away from the interview unimpressed and failed to hire the young man. Well, even though Winton's car predated Ford's by 5 years, that young man named Henry got the last laugh. His company is still going strong to this day. The Winton Motor Carriage Company ceased automobile production in 1924, but 12 years earlier, Winton started the Winton Engine Company, specializing in marine and stationary gas and diesel-powered engines. He eventually became a supplier of locomotive engines, and that business still exists to this day under the name Electromotive Diesel. All of that from this, a small car that gave birth to industry, technology, and businesses that still exist to this day. You know, it's said that Alexander Winton is a forgotten automotive pioneer. His contributions overlooked in favor of those of Mercedes-Benz, Ford, and the Packards of the world. But drive by any auto dealership, roll up to a big rig, or take a look at this 1901 Winton, and you'll be reminded of Alexander Winton virtually any place you go, but especially here at Stahls.